Reid need a Super Bowl ring to cement his legacy?
Absolutely, if he wants his legacy to be of greatness, not just good. And that's the thing about being consistently good, that's not greatness. And greatness is not defined without a signature moment. And let's think about Andy Reid as a coach, who is a tremendous coach. But what is his signature moment? Is it Philly coming up short time and time again? Is it coming and revamping what this roster looks like in Kansas City and putting them in a Super Bowl opportunity? I don't know what's the great moment for Andy Reid. So if he wants to go down in history like some of the coaches that I played for, Marty Schottenheimer or a Dan Reeves, you want to stay at that level. That's the Hall of Goodness, the Hall of Greatness, the Hall of Fame level. Andy Reid needs a winning moment in the biggest moment, and that's the Super Bowl.
You know, I thought about Marv Levy. Yeah, when I thought about this headline.
4 Super Bowls, I'm all for it.
Well,
in a row.
Well, here's the thing. And here's the thing, though. We can talk about Marv Levy doing something as great as going to the Super Bowl 4 times in a row. But you know what we will always end the sentence or the paragraph with? He lost. So I can understand where Tuck was coming from when he wrote and said what he was saying. But to think that you've solidified your career without a Super Bowl win and you've made Super Bowl appearances, you will never be talked about with the upper echelons of guys that have coached this game unless you have, as Marcellus stated, that signature moment.
First thing is I'm looking for that Prime 112 invitation.
You were in bed by 9.
Right, you got a couple of dogs. Yeah.
Have you heard of black tie event?
Yes.
This was the black
guy event. Hey, man, my palms are white. Look, we're the same, man.
I'm sorry.
Hey, no, you're good. You're good. From a legacy standpoint, has he cemented his legacy as a great coach? Absolutely, he's a great coach. He's not a sentimental. It's not about sentiment. It's about that he's one of the great people in this league, and we root for great people. Now, to cement, your legacy as a Hall of Fame coach, that hasn't been done yet. Because that's the differentiator for me. You're a great coach. Man, you've taken 2 teams to the pinnacle, to the championship. We'll see what happens on Sunday. But you've taken 2 teams there. You've been the coach of the year multiple times. You know, you've been voted by the press multiple times, 2, 3, 4 times. You've been coach of the year. You won a Super Bowl as an assistant coach with the Green Bay Packers, Super Bowl 31. So you've done a lot from a coaching standpoint. You're one of the great coaches that we've had in this league. But to be considered a Hall of Famer, you got to have jewelry. I mean, that's what it comes down to. If you want to get to that next level, at some point, that's the differentiator for coaches when you go from the Hall of Really Good or the Hall of Great to the Hall of Fame.
There was a guy that was up for Hall of Fame induction with this centennial class that, to me, is like Andy Reid is a high-class version of Don Coryell. Great passing innovator. And I get it. Don Coryell didn't make it in, and he hasn't made it into the Hall of Fame. But Don Coryell is widely respected kind of as the godfather of the passing game. I think a lot of people believe that about what he did with the San Diego Chargers. Yeah. But he's not a Hall of Famer. I don't think people consider great passing innovator, but I don't know if they say great coach. And right now, Andy Reid is a great passing innovator. And he's been able to take Donovan McNabb, Alex Smith, Patrick Mahomes, and all of it. And now he's taking Patrick Mahomes to a level, unprecedented level. He's a quarterback whisperer. He's a great passing innovator, not a great coach. And look, he has a chance to become a great coach because he's now built a defense. He hired the right defensive coordinator. He has a chance in this Super Bowl to define himself as a great coach. We'll see if he can do it.
Yeah, it's really simple when you talk about coaches and what's different for them than for players. We have stats. We can have signature moments. It's not just win-loss column. But when you look at a coach, it just has to be that impact, that simple. Win-loss column, and it has to be the ultimate win for you to be called a great coach. What happens is we get into rooting interests and likability. Oh, you shop at the airport store and get Bahama Mama shirts. Oh, you look like the guy next door. I'd love to have a beer with you.
Bahama Mama, he went.
I'm going to tell you the other thing.
That's the problem.
Or Tommy Bahama.
And it clouds your vision, brother.
But on to your point, this week, Andy Reid and this season, he's really leaned into self-deprecation. He does a lot of the same kind of eating jokes that I do.
Yeah.
He's become even more likable, and that's what I think is provoking a guy like Ross Tucker and some of the other people in the media.
I just think, you know, your definition of what great is, because I look at Andy Reid, he's been successful everywhere he's gone. His guys have played hard for him. His guys have gone out there and played. He's been great. The way he handled Patrick Mahomes, he didn't stick him right out there. He let him learn this offense for a year underneath the tutelage of Alex Smith. Like, those things to me matter. You know, there's a lot of great players. There are a lot of Hall of Fame players that didn't make the Hall of Fame because of where they got drafted and the situation that they got drafted into.
I'm one of them.
And part of, yeah, absolutely.
I knew that was coming.
Right.
That's why I said
right.
it. I'm one of them.
Yeah. Hey, I'm going to pray.
Pray for what?
Different teams.
Pray for what?
But you've got to be in the right spot so that you can flourish. And coaching, man, there are so many bad coaches in this league. There are a ton of bad coaches in this league. You have got to have somebody. I think one of the strongest things you can say, one of the biggest statements you can say to anybody is, I believe in you. And I'm gonna give you the tools for you to be successful. Then it's on you, right? And Andy Reid does that. What cements him, though, we're talking legacy. He's a great coach. Legacy, there's no question. But what cements him as a Hall of Fame coach is getting jewelry. And I think that's for every coach. That's why Marty Schottenheimer, as good as Marty was, or that's why, you know, like Dan Reeves got a ton of wins and he's gone to 4 Super Bowls. He's not in the Hall of Fame. There's a reason. Until you get that jewelry, you're not considered an elite kind of Hall of Fame coach.
But I'm rooting. I got to push back because you're rooting now. Because it's a disservice to true greatness to sit there and say, if you're hella good, we can now talk about you in great words, great ways. That's not fair.
Jim Kelly in the Hall of Fame?
Yes.
But
But Jim Kelly also won. Jim Kelly had numbers. That's what I'm saying. The conversation's different for a coach than it is for a player. Here's the thing. When you look at Andy Reid, he's done all those things. But let's not make excuses. Oh, you're a product of your environment where you got drafted. You produce in any environment. That's Hall of Fame. I sit here distant as a good player and don't ever convert it to greatness because you like me. I want that to still stay intact for those guys who went out there no matter what circumstances, made it happen, and that includes a coach.
As a high school coach, I think you got to take a look at it from a different angle as well. Everything about being a great coach is not based upon wins and losses on the field. It may sound good, and it looks good in the annals and the history of the game when you look back at it. But if you look at what Andy Reid has been able to do when he was in Philly, I played against Andy Reid my entire career. He did not have an elite offense at any point in time while he was coaching in Philadelphia.
Donovan McNabb?
An elite offense.
Westbrook wasn't great.
An elite offense.
James Thrash.
He didn't have the receivers until he had T.O.
Not an elite player. I said elite offense. Whole. He did not. I've seen him every year, and we lost to him all the time. And you know what? Let me tell you something.
Y'all mustn't have anything great.
No, we had great players. We had Deion Sanders. We had Darrell Green. We had Mark Carey.
They were all 98.
We had Bruce Smith.
They were 98 when y'all got them.
Were they great players? Yeah. Y'all need to tell Marcellus to let me finish my point. All right, now, so here we go, right? He has developed his players through the years. The longevity that Andy Reid has showed has been based upon his ability to develop his players and get them to run the scheme in a proper manner, which says to me, and a lot of those guys, you know, one of the guys that played for Andy Reid is now one of the guys that's helping run our league with Troy Vincent. He has groomed and grown men within his system. And I think a lot of the judgment of coaches being judged differently than players is about how you develop them as people as well.
I always look at the relationship side of everything. From a business standpoint, to me, you're either in relationship, like the whole point of business and the whole point of football and the whole point of developing that is it's all the relationship business. And you're either in that business or you're going out of business. And the reason he has stayed for so long is he has built those relationships, and his guys put on the film. You can see guys who play hard for their coach. And they do in Kansas City for that, man. They did in Philly as well.
LaVar, your point is excellent. I just want to say this, though. A lot of your football brand is attached to Penn State and college football.
Correct.
And so I think some of your point of view really applies to the college game. Andy Reid's resume in the college game, if he did all this, look, the helping the rehabilitation of Michael Vick, that's a feather in his cap. Anybody you put in his system. And Andy Reid, I don't think he wears it on his sleeve, but faith plays a big role in his point of view on developing young men and all that. He sounds like Tom Osborne to me, or one of the great college coaches. But at the NFL level,
You got to win.
you got to throw them rings on.
Yeah.
And hopefully, and look, I'm rooting for it. I want it to happen. But if it doesn't happen, don't watch the show on Monday, Andy.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. And be sure to check out more of the best clips from Speak For Yourself, or go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.